I'm Sam from Jessup Says. The focus of my channel is to share and educate on how to buy less, buy better. It's not necessarily about buying less things, it's about buying something that fits its purpose perfectly and serves you for as long as possible. At the end of last week's video, I asked the question, is it actually worth it? That being, is it worth spending the extra nearly 1,000 Australian dollars to get the shoe that fits your foot perfectly? Or is it worth just investing your time and trying on a range of different lasts from a range of different shoemakers to find something that's pretty close to perfect? Today I'm going to try and answer that question by comparing my Wayman Bespoke shoes with other shoes that I have from the brands Crockett Jones, Edward Green, Alden and Carmina. I hope to answer the question, where do you truly get the best value for money and the best fit for your dollar? I wanted to start off by looking at the most important aspect of finding a good shoe, and the whole reason why you may be looking at finding better fitting shoes, and that is of course the fit. I wanted to assess my experience with fit based on my own collection of shoes and lasts from, as I said earlier, Crockett Jones, Edward Green, Alden and Carmina, which are not only in my collection, but are among some of the most popular global shoe brands. They also happen to be some of the only brands that I consider good enough to be buy less, buy better brands, and that we have access to here in Australia. It's a fairly limited selection at the moment. I've also classified each of these boots and shoes on 3 different criteria, being the fit, the comfort, how broken in they are, and then obviously an overall result for those 3 figures, which should provide us an analytical way to understand how good or bad that shoe is and how it fits, and whether it's actually comfortable or not. Starting off with Carmina, which is the split toe derby on the rain last. The shoe was a custom order that I modeled off the Edward Green Dover. The rain last that I ordered fits me quite well actually, but because I chose their double sole option to try and mimic those Edward Green Dovers, it's a pretty thick option and it's yet to break in fully. It's a bit inflexible. The way that the shoe actually fits my foot is very good, and it's quite a close fit with no extra room anywhere, which, as I've mentioned before, is something that I find comfortable. But if you're looking for more room in your toes, or anywhere else for that matter, I'd try a last other than the rain. So onto the stars. The fit is a 3.5, the comfort is a 3. They are broken in on a level of 2 with an overall value of 3. Now onto my pair from Edward Green, which is of course the lovely Dover boot, which I ordered on the 82 last. I find this last to be extremely comfortable, and it probably is the most comfortable last in terms of a boot last that I own. It fits me perfectly under the arch and along the width of my feet. I find it very supportive and comfortable, though on this double sole, it is again somewhat inflexible underfoot. It does make it feel more rugged, and on a thinner, more flexible sole, I imagine it would have been much more comfortable, though not had the aesthetic that I was looking for. I've worn these boots maybe 15 or 20 times, so they're not fully broken in yet. Onto the star rating, the fit is a 4.5, the comfort is a 4, they are a 3.5 broken in with an overall score of 4.25. Onto Alden, from which I own the Alden LHS loafer, which is on the Van last. This loafer is designed and known to be incredibly comfortable, and at the time of writing this, I've worn them for about 6 weeks at this point. That was 3 weeks of daily wear, and I mean literally daily wear, and 3 weeks of sort of inconsistent wear, though I did wear them quite a lot because I found them quite comfortable, and I intend to do future videos about that pair. They're basically slippers at this point, being completely unlined and on a very thin oil sole with a flexible welt. They're designed to be incredibly flexible and comfortable. The fit of the last is not very closely fitting. I found it a little bit tight across the vamp, and the toes were a little tight in the front, but after a bit of wear, after the wear that I've put them through, they have stretched out and they are, again, extremely comfortable now. Onto the stars, the fit is a 3.5, the comfort is a 5, they are a 4 broken in, yes already, I've worn them quite a lot, and that gives them an overall rating of 4.25. After covering those 3 brands, which I only have 1 pair of from each brand, I wanted to move into a brand that I'm much more familiar with, and anyone knows me knows that it's probably a brand I talk about maybe a little too often, and that is the brand Crockett Jones. From Crockett Jones, I own 2 loafers, 1 monk strap, a boot, and 2 Oxfords. Each of these pairs has a fairly unique acquisition story, and they are all some of my favorite pairs. Crockett Jones continues to be the first brand that I consider when I'm thinking about buying a new shoe. You also notice that I didn't cover a single pair of Oxfords, and the only pair of Oxfords that I do own are 2 pairs from Crockett Jones. Starting off with my loafers, like I said, I have 2 pairs, but 1 pair is a vintage pair that I found at an op shop, and they are half a size too small, but they were so cheap and they're so cool that I just want to keep them. They aren't very comfortable and they don't fit me very well, so I'm going to exclude them from the overall ratings. Next are my pair of Harvard loafers in Whiskey Shell Cordovan, which is on the 314 last. I find this last to be very comfortable, and the design, being unlined and at the point where it's mostly broken in, is extremely comfortable as my Alden LHS. Though admittedly, being Cordovan and being a bit thicker to wear in, they did take a lot longer to break in. Much like the LHS, they fit like a loafer. They don't hug anywhere particularly closely, though a little more closely than the LHS does, so the fit is actually very good. Onto the stars. The fit is a 4, they are a 4 for comfort, and they are a 4 for broken in, giving them an overall rating of, you guessed it, a 4. My monk strap is the classic Lowndes on the 346 last. The last is squared off in the toe, though it has nothing to do with how it fits, it's just what it looks like. It fits quite well, though not perfectly, and I can never really figure out why it doesn't fit perfectly. Though I can walk for quite a while in them. Sometimes I feel like the heel cup isn't that comfortable and my foot never fits perfectly in the shoe. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it just doesn't fit perfectly. It could just be that they need a little bit more time to break in, but they're not uncomfortable. They're on the edge of being extremely comfortable. It's a weird one. Let's call it a pretty good fit, but not a perfect fit. Stars here are a fit of 4, a comfort of 4, and a broken in level of, I'm gonna guess, a 3. Overall rating is a 3.5. The boot is the Sky 3 on the 335 last, which I find a little roomy but not uncomfortable when worn with a normal sock. The way I think about them is they're sort of the perfect fit, but a little loose on the foot. Though when I put on a nice thick sock, like something from Darn Tough, they are much closer to the perfect fit, and I find them extremely comfortable even for, really long days of standing on your feet. The only thing that is a little uncomfortable has nothing to do with the last, the design, or the fit. It's that it's on a day-night sole, which I find a little firm underfoot, especially on a cold day, and just hurts my heels after a while. Stars here, the fit is a 4.5, the comfort is a 4.5, and the broken in is a 4.5, giving them, surprise, surprise, an overall score of 4.5. Finally, on to the most important comparisons we can make, my Oxfords. I have in my collection one of the original Oxfords from Crockett Jones, the Connaught in a dark brown suede, and the Westfield in tobacco suede. The Connaught was actually produced on a last which was first produced in 1961, called the 236 last. The last used to be somewhat widely used, but as lasts have gotten better fitting and people's feet have changed, and probably our understanding of how fit should be, the lasts that Crockett Jones use have developed and changed over time as well. So it's a classic last, and it's so classic that to phase it out would probably cause quite a stir in the footwear community. And they sort of hint as much on their website, at least I think that's what they're hinting at. The fit is okay. It's not tight fitting anywhere, and I wouldn't say that the actual fit itself is very good, but it's not uncomfortable to wear. It just doesn't fit my foot very well, though I don't really have any problem wearing them for a long time. The fit is a 3.5, the comfort is a 3.5, broken in is a 3.5, and the overall is a 3.5. Finally, the Westfield on the 341 last. Now, this last is said to be one of the most popular lasts in the Crockett Jones lineup, and they have over 40 shoes that I could personally count on the website using the last. The selection does include some of the greatest models that Crockett Jones offer, including the Chelsea number 8, the Hardwick, the Harlech boot, and of course the popular Sydney loafer. The reason why it's used so broadly is probably because it's insanely comfortable, and it actually may be one of the most comfortable Crockett Jones lasts that I own, and maybe one of the most comfortable ready-to-wear lasts that I own. This pair of Westfields I actually got second-hand off eBay and had toppies fitted to them. but they were technically already broken in when I got them, but not to my foot. Even with someone else's foot pressed into them and, you know, not lining up perfectly with my foot, they are still extremely comfortable shoes, and I love putting them on. The last follows my foot shape very well, it hugs my heel without being tight, and it just fits great. Onto the stars. The fit here is a 4.75, the comfort is a 4.5, the broken in is a 4.0, because it's not my foot technically, and the overall is a 4.5. Honestly, when I'm wearing these Crockett Jones Westfields with a pair of normal socks, let's say from Uniqlo, these things are comfortable. I've got no complaints at all. But then I put on a dress sock, like one from Brissani, and then I noticed that there's a bit of space around the whole foot, and there's a little bit of wiggle room for me. It's not necessarily uncomfortable, but it is less comfortable. And out of curiosity, let's say I put my other foot into my Wayman Bespoke shoe, and then we start to have a different conversation, because when it comes down to purely fit, I don't own any other shoe or boot that compares to the way that the Wayman Bespoke shoe fits. But I mean, how could they? They're the only shoe that I own that has a custom last, designed specifically and exclusively for my foot. So to rate my Wayman Bespoke shoes, I have a fit of 5 because, as I said in my last video, and I'm going to reiterate here, the fit is perfect. The comfort is a 4.5 because, you know, they're not perfectly broken in as yet. They are a broken in score of 3.0 with an overall score of 4. And yes, that is slightly lower than the 4.5 I gave the Westfields. So, what should you choose? Faced with the decision, where should you spend your money? Well, I've come up with 2 different scenarios for you. If you have feet that are unusual, or you find that you can't find shoes that fit you, for whatever reason that might be, your feet are too wide, they're too short, they're too long, you have funny toes or weird heels, or you just can't find a shoe that fits, I would no question go down the route of getting a bespoke shoe, be that from Wayman Bespoke or any other bespoke shoe. Though what sets Wayman apart is of course their amazing value. Another person who may like to go down the Wayman Bespoke route is a person who is of the opinion of one and done. There's no question in my mind that the shoe or boot that you get from Wayman Bespoke will be of higher quality, more finely made, and fit you more closely than anything you'll find on the ready-to-wear market, at least based on my experience. So if you don't want to hunt around for the right last, the right company, the right leathers, and can afford the extra money to trade up to the Wayman Bespoke price level, then I think Wayman Bespoke is a fantastic option that you should consider. But if you have fairly regular feet, or you've tried on a lot of different shoes and lasts and know what fits right and what you like and what you're looking for, and of course what your size is, then what should you do? This is a question that I've thought about for quite some time now, at least a few weeks. And I think the answer is to double down. And as much as I hate to say it, don't go into bespoke shoes unless or until the need arises. I wanted to explain that point of view with an example. So let's say that you're looking for a cap toe boot and you like the look of the Crockett Jones Constants, and you're me. The Crockett Jones Constant is on the 325 last, which I'm not sure how that fits, but if I'm looking at the Crockett Jones website and I look for a cap toe boot, there's also the Harlech, which is on the 341 last, which I know fits me perfectly. For me, in my situation, I know that the 341 last fits me perfectly. I know the cost of the Harlech boot, and I don't need to take the risk of trying to find a Coniston and then trying to see whether the last fits me. By the same token, I also don't need to go down the bespoke route because my feet are fairly normal, and I've already said that I find the 341 last to fit me pretty much close to perfect. So let's say I chose to buy the Harlech. If you were really embracing the buy less, buy better lifestyle, you may want to check somewhere like eBay and look for a pair in your size and save a bit of money. So to wrap it all up, where should you spend your money? If you have the time and the ability, it's going to be beneficial to shop around. Try on as many different shoes as you can, from as many different makers as you can, and then choose what fits best. Sure, you may want a bespoke shoe. They are stunning, they are a joy to wear, they are stunning, and I mean, they're stunning, aren't they? But when we're really talking about buy less, buy better, Unless you have feet that are difficult to fit, or you just don't have the time and patience to go through a bunch of different brands, then Wayman Bespoke is the way for you, as you're going to end up with a shoe that fits properly and is going to be comfortable and hopefully last a lifetime. Anyway, that wraps that one up. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the next one. Cheers.